Greeting, this is Frank McDowell, Instructional Officer for Secondary Science, and welcome back to video 4 of our 5-part series on building the executive report. Video 1, we pulled up the two sets of data in Eduphoria, our fall benchmark and our spring benchmark. We pulled out some information, we added some information in Eduphoria, and we exported it to Excel. In video 2, we took what we had in Excel, or we exported it to Excel, and we color-coded our SPED and our LEP population using red for SPED and blue for LEP, and using the local ID as well as for those students that would fall into both categories, we color-coded their name. In video 3, we added the growth column, subtracting our spring benchmark percent score, actually subtracting our fall benchmark percent score from our spring benchmark percent score to give us growth. And then we added 3 columns to show how many questions a student is away from moving to the next level. Did not approach to approaches, approaches to meets, meets to masters. And this is where we are at. I filled in, when we finished video 3, we had done the column for number 2 approaches, but since then I have completed a number 2 meets, and I'm going to click on here it was the raw score 2 approaches is 22 minus the raw score. For meets, the raw score was 30 minus the raw score, and for masters, the number was 35 minus the raw score. So here is what we have. Now, what I want to talk about in this video is color coding this information so that way the data really jumps out at you very quickly, and you're able to see a lot of things. So here's what I'm going to do. The first thing I want to do is I want to color code based on the predictive model colors, in which we use orange for masters, green for meets, yellow for approaches, and red for does not approach. And what I want to do is I want to color code both the fall benchmark and the spring benchmark with these color coding. So hopefully it'll show us students growing, moving from one color to another color. So hopefully we're getting a lot of reds and yellows moving to greens and oranges. So here's how I'm going to do it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the percent score for the fall, and I'm going to put them in order. I'm going to click on the little drop down. I'm going to put them in order from largest to smallest. So you can see a couple students have been taken out because they didn't take that fall benchmark. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color code the yeses. So approaches, falls, and approaches, meets, and masters. And I'm going to color code that. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to color code. I'm going to highlight all the areas where it says masters and it says yes. So these kids here have all mastered the test. And I'm going to go to the fill bucket, and I'm going to click on orange. We're going to use orange for mastery. Okay. This is a little bit different. If you watch the grouping mats, this is a little bit different than what I did there. But this is an easier way to do it. Well, not an easier way, another way to do it. So now we have our masters kids, and we're just concentrating on the fall benchmark. Let's look at our approaches kids. So here's what I want to do. Here's another way we can go about it. We can use our filters. So what we want to do is I want to click on this, and we already colored the yeses for mastery, but I want to look at the no's. So I'm going to take out these blanks, and I'm going to take out the yeses. So it's filtered our kids, but I'm going to go one more over to the meets, and I only want to look at those kids that meet. So if I click on that, now what it's done is it's chopped down our kids to just those that meet the 2 criteria of did not master but did meet. And I can color code them. I can highlight them and now color code them green, because green is meets. So if I select all again, we can see that the kids are put back in place. But I have my kids that are green, I have my kids that are orange, and I have my kids that are green. So let's try that one more time. I'm going to click, this time I want to see the kids that just approached. So I'm just going to click on no for masters, and I'm also going to unclick yes for meets, so that the only thing that's left are the no for meets. And then I'm going to go to approaches, and I'm just going to leave the yeses. So now I should have a shorter version. We had quite a bit of kids that were approaching, and I'm going to highlight all the yeses and nos. And I'm going to color code those kids yellow. And then finally, our last one, we're going to click on the nos. And this should leave us all the kids that did not approach. It's as to be expected. This is a fall benchmark. Not all the content was covered, so we have a lot of no's. And there we go. So I'm going to go back to the drop downs, and I'm going to click on, I'm going to select everything, so that way we can see all our data. Just a quick tip, you can see it has a little triangle here. That means that we've filtered something, and it has the triangle and it has a filter. That's what this little shape is a filter. So I'm going to click select all, and you can see now that we selected all, it's showing all the data that is possible in this column. That filter goes away. I'm going to do the last one here, and you can see we can scroll down and we can see our kids and where they are. So going from did not approach in red, approaches in yellow, meets in green, and masters in orange. So we're going to do the same thing now for the spring benchmark. So I'm going to, again, I will filter the percent score. Not filter, but I will put them in order from largest to smallest. And now we can see these are the kids that haven't taken the spring benchmark, but here are my scores. And I'm going to filter out. I'm going to go to masters, and I'm only looking for the kids that got a yes in masters. So I'm going to highlight. We're looking for 3 yeses. And as I scroll down, wait a second, that number has seemed to grow from the fall benchmark. So already we're looking at better things. We want to look at the meets now. These are the kids that just meet. So I'm going to change the filter on the masters to no. So they should only have 2 yeses and a no. And I'm going to go to the meets, and I'm going to filter out the no's there. And that means that we are left with kids that have yes, yes, no. And I'm going to color code these kids. And we are going to use green for meets, just like we did in the first one. On to approaches. So I'm going to go to the masters, or to the meets column, and I just want the no. We're looking for 1 yes this time. Under approaches, we are only looking for yeses. So I'm going to unclick the no. And here are our approaches kids. So I'm going to highlight all of them. It's quite a bit there. And remember, our color for approaches is yellow. And then finally, I'm going to click here, and I'm only going to look for the no's, and these should be our 3 no's. And these are kids that did not approach. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to color them all red. Okay, so let me go back and unfilter everything. Click there, we're selecting all. And now we can scroll down. And just the visual representation. As you're going through, you can see the change from color on one side to the other side, from one test to another. And hopefully what you're seeing is, you're seeing some reds, you're seeing some greens to oranges, you see some yellows to oranges, you're seeing some reds to oranges, and so on and so forth. As we start to scroll down, we can see the improvement that has been made. We may see some areas where the kid has gone an opposite direction. So those are good things that we want to see too. All right, so there it is. We've color-coded using the predictive model colors for both the fall and the spring benchmark. I want to color code the growth as well. So I'm going to go to growth now, and I'm going to put it in order from largest growth to smallest growth. And because I want to be able to see how many kids have grown, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to highlight all the positive numbers. All the positive numbers. all the way down there. So here, these are all our positive numbers, and because they are positive and green is associated with positivity, we had positive growth. I'm going to highlight these. I'm going to color these a different color green so we can see how many kids have grown. It's important to see some of this stuff because sometimes we get caught up in the color here. We might get caught up in the red, but we don't realize, hey, this kid, yeah, he went from red to red, stayed red. But this kid's grown 21 percentage points. Something's going on in class. Some learning is being done. We see it here, red to red, but we have some growing that is happening. Once we check those out, I want to go to the zeros, and we're gonna put those as yellow. No growing has happened here. Kids got the same score from test to test, so we have an orange to orange, but no growth. Hopefully we can get this kid to grow just a little bit more, because remember, nobody goes backwards. We don't want anybody going backwards. And speaking of backwards, here are our negative growth, and I'll highlight those in a different color of red. I like that one. That'll work. So these are we want to make sure that we're addressing these. Why are these kids showing negative growth? What are some of the issues that are going on? So those are some of the questions we want to ask ourselves. Let me go a couple more color codings that I want to show you. I'm going to go to approaches and the number 2 approaches, and I'm going to click on it, and we're going to go smallest to largest. So remember, I had to clarify this in the last video as I was rewatching it. I misstated some stuff. So remember, the negative numbers show us how far the student has gone beyond that number in for this column. So remember, approaches was 22. But if we take this student's raw score, it would be 22 minus 41. We're going to end up with a negative number. So the negative numbers mean the student is beyond that arena. So this student is beyond approaches, is beyond meets, and is beyond masters. So this student has done very well in this particular spot. But we want to scroll down, and we want to take a look at the kids that are very close. So as we get into the zeros, that means that they are right at that point. The zero means that they got right to the point where they needed to be. So all these kids got 22 questions correct. And remember, in our formula, it was 22 minus the number that they got correct. So in this case, they are right at that line. So if they got 22, that means that they approached. But if they got 21, that means they were right below that line. So that's what I want to do. I want to take a look and say, okay, on this 8th grade test, there's probably about 10 questions that on content that they haven't covered yet. So I'd like to, I guess, be on the safe side. So I like to highlight the number of questions. If these kids are within five questions, I like to color code them. I like to see, okay, these kids are within striking distance. So I color code everything 1 question away to 5 questions away. These kids are 5 questions away from leveling up. So between now and when we would take the star, as a teacher, I would think I definitely can get this kid to answer 5 more questions based on their stuff that we haven't covered yet. And as we go and review some of the mistakes that the student has made on this test, we can kind of clarify and start to clear up some misconceptions in intersession or after school tutoring or a small group or bell ringers or anything like that to make sure that these kids are 5 questions stronger come May. So there is our approaches. I'm going to do the same thing for meets. I'll go and I'm going to put these in order from smallest to largest. Actually, because they should all be in the same, they should be modeled the same way. So I'm going to go to 1 through 5. So these kids are 5 questions away. Now we're looking at a different group of kids. These kids they're already approaching. We're looking to get these kids to meets. We want to get these kids green. So these kids are 5 questions away from going yellow to green. So we have a shot here. And then finally, we want to look at these kids. Remember, it's pulling the string. We want to make sure nobody goes backwards. These kids here are 5 questions away from going from meets to masters. So now we have a list of kids for each one of these areas that we would like to focus on to ensure that they're moving forward. So there is our color coding for our executive report. A lot of color now, a lot of information that is being told through the colors. And it's not necessarily that we have to look at the numbers, but eventually we'll look at the numbers. But the colors will tell a story just themselves. So this is why the color coding portion is very important. I'm going to end the video here. It's been about 15 minutes. Hopefully you guys, hopefully I was clear enough on the explanations and you guys can start to see it. Come back for video 5 and I will show you some of the ways to use this executive report as an administrator, as a Sky coach, as a teacher, and some of the questions you can start to ask yourself and some of the answers that this executive report can present. So thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye.